Welcome to the Strategies of Football, presented by Local Football Flavor. Today's episode, Las Vegas Raiders host the Denver Broncos. It's going to be about 25 minutes breaking down all of the key plays of the game. I'm going to draw them up, what the coaches were trying to do, what some adjustments would do to make the plays better in the future, and we hope you enjoy. So here we go. Strategies of Football, Vegas versus Denver. I'm going to start with an analytics note that people should know whenever they're looking at details about being in an overloaded box or not. This technically is not an overloaded box. There are 7 defenders right here. However, there are only 6 blockers. And any time that there are more defenders than blockers, it's an overloaded box by default. Nonetheless, I really like the way that Vegas attacks this. We do a double team and an up here. A double team and an up is drawn. Waller on the backside here with Screaming in here to pick up whoever it is. Now, unfortunately, Vegas doesn't get all of their roll-ups to work correctly, but overall, this play is just really, really strong, and I'm really a fan of it. So to show it here in motion, once that middle linebacker is in motion, 68 is supposed to get up to him and just never does. But it's a really strong play. All right, big theme of this game is that Mason Crosby is really, really good and by far the best player on Vegas' defense. And another thing we're going to recognize from time to time is that if you don't put your players in position to succeed, they're probably not going to succeed. So in this play, we're going to see a Denver toss to the left. So what Denver's trying to do is obviously get to the outside and then up. So here's the 2 main problems where they fail in this play. First is they're ultimately going to be trying to block Crosby with this little guy. Just look at the 2 of them standing. If this was like an MMA fight or a UFC thing, there is no way you want to put your entire load on Crosby to totally destroy him. Second reason, we know we're running to the left here, and we're going to have our center have to get in front of this middle linebacker who already has a head start to the left. It's basically a play that is impossible for the most athletic center of all time to make that play, let alone here. So what we're going to see Denver do is pull out the guard with an attempt to try to get on 39 out here, have 10 go in motion to take one of the corners out of the play and give a little bit of off. There's 2 things that Denver could have done to make this play better than what they did, which I'll draw after we show how it actually goes down. So on the viewings, I want to point out how quickly Crosby reacts. As soon as he gets that key to go, he goes. So now let's show what Denver could have done to make this better. First is that we're going to start with 14. Him taking on Crosby, bad idea. Don't even consider it. However, we could do something where he does a stutter step, Crosby runs into him, but his real goal is to get the safety out here, number 39, also giving your tackle a chance to get to the outside and do a scoop block on Crosby. That's item 1. Item 2 we have here is how are we going to take care of this middle linebacker getting across? Well, the way we could do this is rather than trying to have the center pull straight out and run across or have him try to dive back, we can actually do with a little bit of the motion fake in our favor. When the motion comes across, we do a fake to him before tossing it out. That will give the center time to come out on essentially a reach block type maneuver to get in the way of the middle linebacker. That would open this play up much more and give you an opportunity for much more yardage. However, as I said, that's not exactly what Denver does. And when you put your players in a position where it's hard to succeed, it's hard to succeed. So Josh Jacobs is one of the best running backs in football that gets really disadvantaged because A, they don't give him the ball enough, but they're always going for all or nothing type runs, and which sometimes is great and sometimes it's not. In this case, we're going to have a trap type play with Waller where our tackle's going to go up here, guard's going to cut out here, the center is going to take out here, pin block here, and then this tackle ends up probably in charge of him, but doesn't hit him, just kind of goes upfield and does nothing. But the problem with this play is ultimately we're going to be expecting a tight end on the big old Adams man here in the middle, and they just get stuffed. I mean, it's just a roadblock in the middle of this play where you can't get around. So I'm going to show the way this play happens, and the awesomeness that is Jacobs to try to make something out of nothing here. And then I'm going to show how we could have drawn it up to make it a little bit easier for everyone involved and let Jacob really get some big action. So Jacob kicks it out when he sees the roadblock, gets a really good gain. It's beautiful. That's all on Jacob. Here's how this play could be drawn up better if we still want to do Waller doing his cutout. Rather than having him take out the D tackle, we're going to have him go all the way out to take out the D end. That would set the edge right here. We have the tackle take out that linebacker, down block here, down block here. Essentially, we're talking zone blocking to the right, but with identified your guy. That gives all of the members of the box clearly addressed and a nice running lane for Jacobs to go through. And in an ideal world, your slot guy cuts off the safety. That would be a much better result and make things a lot more difficult on the defense rather than having the roadblock that is the Adams-Waller connection happen in the middle of this play. This is a really well-designed blitz on 3rd and long from the Broncos, and it's something that most people wouldn't catch of why does it work. So watching the play there in real time, obviously we see the corner coming off the edge making the play. But really what sets this entire play up is your nose guard rolling to the left side of the line and taking the center with him. Because 5, essentially, while trying to blitz the passer, is taking out the guard out of this play to allow a one-on-one setup with your edge rusher around the side. But what that also creates is an overload blitz when your safety comes from off the screen and gets it. By the center getting pulled to the left, instead of it being a 3-on-3 fight, it ends up being a 3-on-2 fight, and there's just flat out nothing Derek Carr can do with that. It's a really well-designed play, and it's all from this unsung hero in the nose guard right here. And, it's something we got to give credit to. 3rd and long, and Denver's only going to send 4 pass rushers, and this play ends up being amazing. I'm going to break down what makes it so great, aside from the fact that it's a big sack on a 3rd down. This is how it happens. We have the 2 Joneses that Denver has with their hands in the dirt. The first one goes across the line, and the second one comes in behind him and ultimately makes the play. The key to this play is how when he comes across to the left, he pulls all 3 interior linemen with him, giving a huge lane for an athletic man coming down the center. Play action is a great weapon in the NFL and something all teams try to utilize. But this is going to be an example of where the fake doesn't really do anything, and we're going to break down why real quick. When we're doing a fake, essentially the entire offense needs to be on board to sell the run. Unfortunately, the offensive line of the Denver Broncos never sells the run. Effectively, they're doing a pass blocking up front with a play fake in the back, resulting in neither one of the linebackers ever preparing for the run. Because as linebackers are taught, you look at the lineman, not the back, to figure out what the play is going. It's still a successful play because Russell Wilson can drop it over the linebackers' heads before the safeties. It's just not as effective as it could be. The concept of being a matchup-driven league has kind of taken over the NFL. And in this play, Russell Wilson actually makes it a harder throw by trying to focus on his matchup, which makes sense because if you're a defense, you want to take out his number 1 option. But let's draw up what actually happens on this play and what would have made life easier. So the first is that we have a play combination of a number of ins and then a contrary levels route to the back of the end zone. So the first read on this play is, well, who's giving me the softest coverage in terms of pure reads here? And in Oakland, they actually are given softer coverage from the top of your screen to the bottom. And Russ doesn't look to the left side, but if he would, it's a very easy touchdown looking at the top. The corner at the very top of the screen backs further into the end zone, and we got a wide open touchdown there. Instead, he gives himself a more challenging throw to go over the top. Again, when you're talented as Russell Wilson is, it's fine, but it does make it wonder, why are we not taking the easier things when Denver's supposed to have this stacked of a receiving core? This play is going to be a testament to how awesome Josh Jacobs is, because it's not too often that you get any gain when neither of the linebackers are blocked, let alone a large one. So let's break down how this was supposed to go and what actually happened. So what we're supposed to have here is a double team and an up out to the linebacker. We're supposed to have a double team here and up to catch the linebacker across. Tackle, kick out this guy, and then Waller just essentially catching whoever's trying to scrape across as Jacob runs right through the hole here. And as you see pre-snap, with 47 in the middle of the field, it looks like that's really easy to accomplish. As 47 just in the position, it gets a little bit more difficult. But the biggest problem that the Raiders are having for this kind of blocking system is that neither one of their guards are getting off of their double team blocks to go up to get to the linebackers. And Jacob's able to juke the backside one right into a pile, but that doesn't mean that it's done correctly. The guards need to get up and get the two inside players. And they're too busy, especially 64 there, just trying to look good, making a bigger seam. And it's just not how it should be done. So for one final time. Josh Jacobs was the workhorse for the Raiders in this game, and particularly this drive. And this play shows a lot of great things, showing off what he was bringing to the table the whole day. And we're going to show how it got blocked up and what he did that was really pretty awesome in it. So the blocking scheme in this one is we're going to have down blocks across the board and people just running into us in a zone concept. Kick out block here from the tight end. But what I really want to highlight here is number 10, Hollins, how he gets out here, creates a good little seal, and as Jacob sees it, he cuts right through it. It's a really good teamwork play, and it's how you get a nice long touchdown in the NFL, at least on the ground. So I really like how Jacob runs, and then at the end of it, the way he just blasts through people is just phenomenal. He's just so strong. So both teams became susceptible of just falling apart out of their game plans and not going anywhere. And on the one hand, that can look like an offensive failure, and I am going to draw up this play and show some things the offense did do wrong. But I'm also going to show what 91 of the Raiders here does so right. So 91 for the Raiders is Nichols, and he's your big man right here on the line of scrimmage. Just boom. And he's going to get double teamed here from both the guard in front of him and the center coming across. And he's going to not just beat it, he's going to fight all the way through and get to the play, which is something that's just absolutely great. Now, in general, this is a zone block to the left where everyone's just kicking out. And if you get someone in your way, you just keep hitting them. So it's not the same as a traditional double team type play, but that's what they're going for here. And the other part I want to highlight right here is number 73. The problem here is when the zone blocking is going this way, and then you stop your big lumbering tackle body and try to cut back, two things happen. First is you're doing someone else's job, because reality, this is right here's tight end's job, is to get the man upfield and have your running back outrun him. That's the job of the way that play should be drawn. But by 73 stopping and cutting back to get to 50, it now leaves this linebacker to cross over to the top. Had the play been done correctly and 73 carries through, we would have a lane to go right here. 83 gives it there. Williams is still running at the sideline. But 73 obviously doesn't do that. And as I mentioned before, the Raiders are really on fire with that cut-through block. So Williams has to slow down as the linebacker comes across. So we don't know if 73, if he hits the middle linebacker number 5, if it would have worked correctly. But it would have been a better chance at least. I understand the majority of America has only seen Denver play on their national games against San Francisco and their Thursday night one against the Colts where they've looked really bad. And yeah, Mel Gore is fumbling the ball a lot, and he is losing favor with the coaching staff, which is really unfortunate for those that want him to do well in fantasy. But I'm going to break down on this play, even before the fumble, where the real failure is. So the issue with this play is that Denver cannot execute a basic double team roll off combination. What we're going to see here is that the play is really made from the failure of number 61. And by the way, he does holding on this play. So as we roll through it, watch that spot right there as they're trying to push up on him. And it's a really well-designed play otherwise. So you have a man on a man. Crosby got kicked out. Unfortunately, you have a tackle or a backside guard getting juked out here trying to get up on a safety, which when that works is amazing. But it does also create a roadblock now that Melgor has to adjust to. So I'm not saying that that caused the fumble, but I'm saying it certainly did not help to it. And when we look at elements like that, by the way, that's holding right here in the middle of your screen on 61. So even if Melgor doesn't fumble, the play's going backwards. And then the fumble obviously happens and the Raiders take it to the house. So I point all that out to say is that basic double team blocks is something that requires practice and patience to get together. And with the new CBA, it's obviously difficult for lines to be together, but we're also at week 5. And at some point, you got to be able to coach your guys up and say, hey, you had enough reps. You went through training camp. Let's figure out how to do this, because getting a push in the NFL is hard enough. But if you can't do it when you have an advantage, you got problems. Following the Melvin fumble for a touchdown, Denver is down by 6, and it's the end of the first half. And they start this playoff wanting to reestablish what they want to do. This is a divisional game, 14-yard run off the left, another power run off to the left coming. This is how you show that we belong here, and we're coming here to be dominant in this division. Offensive coordinators, call your plays in quickly so your veteran quarterbacks can make things happen. This is a massive advantage that the Denver Broncos get to exploit here, and we're going to draw really how big it is, aside from the huge gain, how it works out. So how this play could go wrong is Russell could rush it, as many young quarterbacks do, before all their receivers are set. Then it is a waste of time. But what I want to specifically highlight here is number 21 on the Raiders. He's trying to get off of the field. There is no doubt about that. And watch him as this play progresses, because not only does he not get off the field, he's got to turn, run from the one number all the way to the other sideline, and he's the one that Russell Wilson ultimately exploits. Calling your plays makes a big difference. This is the play immediately after they catch him out of position. Russ is in attack mode, and let's go put some points on the board, take a lead going into halftime. Unfortunately, they don't hit the extra point, so it ends up being tied at 16. But let's break down how this one ends up going out. So it's not a really complicated route. We got a straight vertical up here. We got an inside flex, and then we got a more severe flex. And what this play is ultimately trying to do is make the defense be in a tough situation. Because in effect, if this is a man-to-man coverage, you're going to have 1-to-1 on your outside receiver, which is a very favorable play in most results. If it's cover 2, this safety has to then determine, is he going to the far or is he going to the center? Either way, you can't double team them both if you get enough separation downfield, as Denver ultimately does. So it really gives you an advantage of watching the play, knowing you're going to go to one of these top 2 receivers, and essentially letting the defense tell you which one as the play goes on. Russell Wilson does an excellent job of breaking this down and making it happen. Sees boom, there's the hole in the zone, fires it right in there. So good. As I mentioned earlier, number 61 for the Denver Broncos, Graham Glasnow, has had a really rough day, and this is no real exception to it. We're going to break down here how the Raiders are able to exploit something to get Maxx Crosby, who's one of the best pass rushers, period, in a nice exposed position. So we're going to be focusing just on these 4 personnel for this play for the sake of this discussion and simplify it. The pre-snap read from the Broncos is blocking one-on-one those way. That's their responsibility. So what the Raiders end up doing is they want to make it just harder. So they're doing a loop outside here, making 61 have to chase him, which ultimately gets in the way when Maxx Crosby does the loop this way. The tackle runs into the guard, and there's nothing Russell Wilson can do. Now, there's lots of different ways that offensive lines can correct this problem. The most common one being communicating and doing a trade, but it's really just a great play all around from the defensive standpoint, exploiting the weakness of 61 who's been having a bad day already and just making a good play. Maxx Crosby's really talented as a defensive end, but when you give him easy looks like this, it's just like stealing. In this play, you're just seeing Denver mess up. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a poor play design all the way around. And we're going to break it down right now, right here. First off, Maxx Crosby. We just broke him down for wrecking the last drive. We're going to have him single blocked by a tight end as our quarterback's rolling to his side. What? No, because here's exactly what's going to happen. This guy can't block Maxx Crosby. He has a walking lane to come and execute Russell Wilson. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, I appreciate this as like audacity trying to catch him off guard, but there is no scenario on earth where a tight end is stopping Maxx Crosby and blocking your franchise with essentially thin air doesn't win you a lot of games, Denver. You should be better than this. After a series of 3-and-outs in this game, Denver is in trouble. They're down by 6, and their first play nearly gets them a safety, and the Raiders are smelling blood. Maxx Crosby is looking like TJ Watt right here, jumping up, slamming that ball back. I get its instinct from Russell to catch the ball, but he really shouldn't have. That was potential safety waiting to happen. And then when it's 3rd and 10, some teams go for a Hail Mary like Buffalo does, and some people just drill a running back. This drive for the Broncos started with about 10 minutes left, and they're down by 9. They had been getting just harassed by the Raiders' pass rush. A lot of 3rd and longs getting bailed out by penalties. But then they uncorked this gem. We're going to break down some key aspects of how this happens. Part of it is that it's just the NFL. But the other part is that for the first time in a while, Russell actually gets deep in his pocket and then steps back up into it. Simultaneously, we're getting not a complicated route, just a post down the center of the seam. But as you give Russell time to step up to it and launch it, the receiver's faster, and that's just what happens in the NFL sometimes. To me, this is a play of courage from Russell Wilson, because at the end of the day, this play is designed to be handed off, and he'd rather do a naked boot to go in with it. So let's draw it up and show you what I mean. Every single lineman here is doing a zone blocking path to the right, up the field as you will. And ultimately, this player right here doesn't get blocked. So Russell Wilson knows this going into the play and still chooses to pull it out and run it himself. Now, I don't know if it's if he doesn't trust Melgore in the end zone anymore or he just wants to make the play himself. But either way, as watching this tape over and over again, this play is designed to give the ball to Melgore, but it ends up being a touchdown for Russell Wilson. I'm pointing this play out because, yes, it is a failure by Denver, but it's also something that's incredibly common in the NFL. This is the Raiders getting the ball back with 7 minutes left, and they're up by 2. And they've been running the ball really well. This is a 3rd and long. But rather than keeping the pressure, Denver's going into a soft shell. And it's just allowing the best receiver in football, or at least one of them in Adams, to be wide open, and he's not going to miss it. The dude's got hands like glue, and it's a failure that takes over the league, and in a way, you can argue that it cost Denver the game here today. They kept putting pressure on Carr, maybe you get a chance. You give Carr time and Adams all the space in the world, you're done. Josh Jacobs is the most undervalued running back in the NFL. His skill set is as strong as anyone else's, and I'm going to show in this play exactly how it's blocked up to utilize them. So the first thing that I like with this is that We got a fullback alert, people. We got a fullback on the field, and it's going to be great. So I want you to just highlight him. Just watch Johnson as this goes on, because the stuff that he does, it makes a great hit up. Just right there, boom. And Jacob sees it, immediately is cutting out here. Again, amazing block right there. And, Jacobs can run over basically anyone in this league. And in this play, not only does he make people miss twice, he's not trying to run them over. He's agile enough to get through the hole, even though it's actually a little different than where he anticipates. He cuts to the inside, cuts another guy, and boom, right in there. On another note with this play, DaVante Adams is on the far left of your screen. He's not really a blocker, but on this play, when it's going for the game, he throws a little love there. So yeah, in that game, there's a lot of interesting things that happen. Obviously, Vegas kind of found their identity, starting to run the ball very well. And Denver, they had some moments that were all right, but really, there was some when the game was on the line, they didn't defend Maxx Crosby, and the pass rush was really getting to Russell Wilson. I only showed 2 of his sacks, but he was a wrecker throughout this game. Denver's defensive line showed some good things too. I don't want to try to diminish them, but the Denver offense has some fundamental flaws to it, and I hope that I showed them to you fairly and correctly. This isn't a team that I think is going to magically correct their thoughts, because there's so many basic things like being able to do a double team block that they're just messing up. And while I really like Melgore and I hope that he'll come around, they have lost faith in him. And it's unfortunate. That's just the way it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed the strategies of football. Please click like and subscribe, especially if you're watching all the way here at the end. And please let us know if there's any game you want me to cover, whether it has already happened or on the schedule. Let me know and we'll put it on the rankings.